Hello, in this video I'm going to show you how to manage the content in your project. So the actual Unreal project that hosts your game is as small as possible. So the first thing we are going to do is we're going to create the game project. So let's say that you are going to make a first person game. So we select the first person template. We give it a name. In this case I'm going to call it first person game. And very important here, we say, well, you could choose here Blueprint or C++, depending on what type of project you want. We're going to stick to Blueprint here. Very important, we want to say no started content. Remember that we want to keep this project as small as possible. So we don't want to right off the bat import all the assets that come into the started content pack. All right, so we say create project. Okay, so we've created the first person project based on the template. It has nothing special, no started content, just the very basic. I haven't added any extra levels. If we go to here to where the project is being created and we look at its content folder, we see that its size is very small. What I say? Okay, it's only 93 megabytes. Okay, which is what we want. We want to keep it as lean as possible. So what we're going to do now is we're going to create a second project, a second Unreal project, which is going to be the storage, the container where we're going to put all of the assets that we download from the Epic launcher or that they come from the started content or any other source. Any package that you want to use, you're just going to load it into this second project, and then I'll show you how to migrate it into this first person game that we're looking at. So we go here, we say create new project. It's going to be a game. We're going to make it blank. For this example, I'm going to add the started content because this project is for that, is for hosting assets. And we're going to give it the name content depot. That's a good name. Okay, and we say create. So this is the Content Depot project, right? If we go look at the file manager for the Content Depot project and we look at the size of its content folder, we see that it is over 650 megabytes compared to the 93 megabytes that our project with no content was. So we see how just the started content adds a lot of stuff into the project, right? So the first thing we're going to do, since we now have two projects, right? What we want to do is make sure that we are not working in one while we should be working on the other one. So there is a nifty trick that we can use here. If we go to editor preferences, under editor preferences, and you click here, we're gonna go see if I can find it real quick. But we have under appearance here, we have colors, and we have this editor main window background override. So if we select this little arrow down here, here we can change the color, and we're going to change it to a red, for example. So let's say okay, and let's close this. And we see now that the title bar is red, right? So this is going to alert us that the project that we're looking at is the Content Depot, right? That is the one that we use only for storing assets. Now, if from here we look at the starting content and we open, for example, some of its, let's look at the props. We have here the chair, for example, right? So if we open the chair, you see that the window that opens here doesn't have the red title bar. So if we want the children or the child windows to have the same color as the main project, the main editor window, what we can do is go back into editor preferences, appearance, we collapse that, and here we see that right below the editor main window background override, we have the editor child window background override. So we're gonna click on the tint for that, and we're also going to select a red color there. Okay, so now both of them are red. So when we open again, if we open another window, it will be red as well. So this is a nice trick to make sure that we don't get our two projects confused. Let's say now that we want to use one of the assets that is in our content depot. We want to use it in our first-person game. This is how it's going to work, right? You find some assets in the Epic Store or anywhere else. You are going to download them onto this project, the Content Depot one, the one that we are not going to be tracking with Git, that we are not going to be storing in Bitbucket. So we don't really care about the size of this project as long as we have enough space in our hard drive. So we are going to host all those assets here, and when we want to use something in our game, what we do is we find the asset in the content browser here. In this case, for example, we have this rock. If you open it, it opens here in the mesh editor, right? So we're going to take this asset and we are going to migrate it to our project. So you right click on the asset from the content editor and you go to asset actions, and here you find migrate, right? So if we click on migrate, it's going to ask you, here it shows you all the things that are going to be migrated along with this asset, right? So for example, props, the material that is used by this mesh, and also the textures that are used to build that material, and as well as the mesh itself, right? So if you wanted to not take any of these with you, you should uncheck it here, but by default, if you want to use that rock as it is, as you've seen it in the editor, you need to take all of these things with you. So you say OK, and now it's asking you which one is the destination content folder. You need to put this under a content folder of another project, right? So I go into my first-person game, find the content folder, and I'm going to put it right here. Okay, so I say OK and open, and now it's doing the migration. So what we need to do now is open our other project, which I call first-person game, and see that we'll have that rock available to be used within that project. Okay, so here we have the first-person game project. You can immediately see that it's not the Content Depot project because the title bar is not red. So that's the the reason why we did it, so we don't get confused. If you look in the content browser down here, initially it might look like this, but if you click on this icon, it will give you the folder structure here on the left. You see that now we have a folder that we didn't have before, which is the started content one. This folder is being created thanks to the migration that we just did. So if we go under props, here now we see the rock that we want to use. Along with the rock, we also have this material folder, which has the material used for the rock. You could double click and open it, and you'll see here also that this material is using 3 different textures. One loaded here, another one here, and another one over here. That's why, as well as the mesh, the material, we also actually not 3 but 4. We migrated 4 textures as well. So let's go back to the folder with the props, and now we can just go ahead and with any other asset, grab the rock, and you can go ahead and place it in your level. Okay. If you look at the size of the content that you have in your project now, before it was 93 megabytes. Now it's grown a little bit, but it's still 550 megabytes shy of what the whole started content package is. Now this will be even more useful when you start using packages that you get from the for example from the Epic marketplace that could be really big. They could be gigabytes big, and you only want to use a fraction of the stuff that's in there. So make sure that you host all that content into the Content Depot, and that you migrate only what you need into your game project. In this example, the first-person example map. Okay, so that's it for this video. Thank you.